Yes.
Now we're live. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Atwater High School Return to Learn Facebook Live broadcast for October 15th, 2020. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This evening I have joining me Mr. Braga, our Activities Director, Mr. Wine, our Athletic Director, Associate Principal for Guidance, Mr. Nunes, Associate Principal for Teaching and Learning, Mr. Hammer. And then joining us online answering questions will be Ms. Fonsavan, AP for Student Support. So this evening what we want to do is we want to give you an overview of what it's going to look like starting November 2nd when we have students starting to return to instruction here at Atwater High School. Now, in doing so, I'm going to share with you, if we could share that screen now, I'm going to share with you a presentation or slides from a presentation that were given to the school board last night from district staff. So these are the district staff slides that were utilized at the school board last night. They developed them. We're just going to utilize these slides to help illustrate our point and to get the point across of what's going to happen when we come back to school. Now, before I start this evening and get too far into it, this is everything we know as of October 15th. As you know, as we've been going through all of this COVID process that we've been going through, things kind of evolve and change a little bit, but we feel like we have a pretty good direction right now of what it's going to look like November 2nd. So we wanted to get together with our school community, our students, our families, and other interested folks in the community of what it's going to look like at Atwater High School. So in setting up this process and setting up what it's going to look like, there were some priorities that were established to help guide us in our help us guide us as we develop what the in-school process is going to look like. Those priorities would be the least disruption possible for students and staff, equitable offerings for all of our students, and the greatest sense of normality as possible with safety protocols in place. So with the least disruption possible, we'll be implementing a broadcast method of instruction. And in this broadcast method of instruction, students will be tuning in at home as well as attending in class, and we'll explain that in greater detail here in a few minutes. So with equitable offering, with this broadcast method for instruction, we are able to keep students and teachers' schedules essentially the same with very few disruptions or interruptions. With the sense of normality, motion-sensitive cameras and wireless microphones will facilitate and engage the instructional process in the broadcasting method of instruction. So here's just to hit it right off the top here. Teachers will see their students in their classes every day. Sites will follow their regular traditional bell schedules. The regular traditional bell schedule from 8 to 2:37 for Atwater High School, periods 1 through 7. That is the schedule that we will start November 2nd. So with that, I'm going to show you kind of what the AB schedule will look like with the distance learning students. So let me click on this right here to illustrate what it's going to look like. So on the A days, the A students that are designated, and we'll tell you in a minute how to know if you're an A or B student, the A students will attend in person. The B students and the distance learning students that are assigned to that class, they will attend virtually, and they will be engaged in the class virtually. The next day, we will rotate to the B schedule. The B students will be in class, and the A students and the distance learning students will attend virtually. And with the broadcast method of instruction, teachers will be teaching as they normally do with cameras that will literally follow them in the classroom, and with lapel mics that will broadcast their voice. So it'll be as if those students in distance learning will be sitting in the class, participating in the class. That's the plan. So as you can see here, it's going to be every other day. It will be AB, AB, AB. And I use this calendar to kind of illustrate what that'll look like. It'll be a rotation. So week 1, starting the 2nd, Monday A, Tuesday B, Wednesday A, Thursday B, Friday A. Coming back on Monday, it would be B we start with on Monday, and then we rotate again through the week. Now, as you can see, we have a couple holidays worked into November, so we needed to take those into account. What this does is it gives us the opportunity to decrease class sizes to no more than 15 students per class while delivering the most normal instruction that we can possibly deliver and allow our teachers to progress through the periods or through their learning schedules daily. So I know there's a lot of questions wrapped up in what I just presented there. We're going to take some time to kind of break this down a little bit and talk to you about it to hopefully answer some of your questions. So I just wanted to kind of introduce that right now. First thing I want you to know is we're on a regular, traditional Atwater High schedule. The 30-minute periods and those types of things are gone. We are on a regular schedule every single day. Students will attend every single day, either in person or virtually, every one of their classes. Okay, so if you are a distance learning student, you simply log into your regular schedule as if you were sitting or attending Atwater High School every single day online. So I hope that's been made pretty clear. Like I said, we'll break down a little bit further who's A, who's B's, and who are the D's, and if you wanted to change that, our process or timeline for which to do that. So give us a little time to kind of work through the presentation here. Mr. Braga, I'm going to kind of break away here for a second. I'd like Mr. Hammer to go ahead and talk to everybody a little bit more about broadcast instruction.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Theodosio. That was a good opener. You actually covered quite a bit of it. I'll kind of get into the details. All of the students, I think of it this way, all of the students will be in class. Some will physically be there, others will be there virtually, and they'll experience the teaching strategies that we have to offer. They'll either be seeing it on the screen or in person. But our idea is to try to keep a common experience, and I think we'll be able to do that with some of the technology we have. We'll have a camera that tracks teacher movement. So anytime there's something that involves modeling or demonstration or work on a whiteboard, the camera will follow. And I was fortunate enough to do some of the trial and error yesterday with some of our colleagues, and it seemed to work perfectly. While we didn't have the tracking camera, we kind of emulated it by moving our tripod. But the kids that are at home will be able to be a part of the lesson as far as sharing. We just have speakers that are loud enough for the entire class to hear. So a teacher can actually call on a student that's at home just as he or she would call it a student that's in the room. And they'll be able to share out. They're in the room with us. And they can participate as far as responding, asking questions. When the students in the room respond, there's a microphone that will pick that up so the kids at home can experience it. So it's just having kids in the room, kids at home, but they're all in class. Let's think of it that way. One of the other pieces for any slideshows or documents or videos that the kids are seeing in class, that will be done through screen share and Zoom, just like they're doing right now at through distance learning. So the students at home will see what they normally see when those types of items are presented, slideshows for lecture, documents, worksheets, whatever, video clips. And then, of course, the students in the room will see it on the projector screen. So one of the twinks and challenges that we have are them interacting. How are they going to interact? There are two ways. One, through the Zoom, the teacher can put the kids at home in breakout rooms, which allows them all to go into small groups and be able to have small group discussion or pair share type activities, while the students in the classroom, maintaining physical separation, can speak to each other in zones, kind of staying in zones, but adhering to the COVID protocols. Should we ever want them to all intermix, we're getting headphones. We already have quite a few for testing that we're going to go ahead and use for our class sessions, and we're ordering some more of those that will be their own to use, and kids are welcome to use their earbuds. But that way we can put every student, those in the classroom, those at home, in breakout rooms, and everybody can talk, everybody can discuss and report out, and we'll be able to hear all their voices. So that's broadcasting. And I like the term broadcasting because think of being in a studio audience watching Jimmy Kimmel or your favorite talk show. The people in the audience are hearing it live. But imagine if you could call in and ask Jimmy a question or be part of the broadcast. That's what we're offering. So we like what we have planned. It's going to take some getting used to, the tracking camera and the lapel mic and some of those things, but I think we're going to be okay. It felt good when I was when we were trying it out, trial and error yesterday, and working out some of these details. But people that were away had a sense of being in the class, and of course in the room, they could get a sense of what the students at home had to offer. They were able to hear their comments and such. So that's broadcasting, and that's the mode of operation that we're going to be jumping into November 2nd.
Just want to say this type of instruction is more normal than what we have seen since March. These are teachers teaching as they normally would, simply with a camera that will follow them in front of the classroom as they teach the kids. So the way I'm looking at all of this, hopefully this is our beginning of getting things back to normal. That's the way we're working this, to see if we can get the most normality back to our regular processes as possible. So we're kind of excited to take this next step. You know, the 30-minute sessions every single day were kind of hard on us that we're in currently, and some of our students performed well, many of our students didn't perform as well in that system. So that's why the change to the full schedule. That's why we're going to the in-person instruction safely as soon as the county has allowed us to do so. So with that, Mr. Braga, if you can share my screen again, I want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen from November 2nd to November 16th. This is what we're calling an intersession. The end of the grading quarter is October 30th. We want to take those 2 weeks after the end of the grading quarter, as we switch and transition into this new style of instruction, to take some time to cover these following items here. The goal is to review with our students what we covered that first quarter. The goal is to bring up the grades for the students that have struggled under the distance learning format that we've been under, to make sure that we are addressing learning loss or learning gaps that have occurred since March, to make sure our students are up to speed in terms of the standards of where they should be at this particular point in their educational career. So we're going to take a couple weeks to review, remediate, and to go over some material to make sure our kids are solid from this point moving forward through the rest of the semester. This also allows our students to raise their grades, but it will help acclimate our students back to the campus. Our students haven't been on campus in normal instruction mode since March. That's quite a long time to be out of the school system, out of what's happening every single day. So these couple of weeks we're going to utilize to develop those relationships, develop those routines, those expectations, and get our students back to understanding what it's like to be on campus and get those positive habits and routines established. It'll allow our students to establish healthy relationships with their peers and with their teachers, and we'll be able to train our students on safety protocols as well. So that during those 2 weeks, we're looking to remediate and review and address the learning loss that's taken place since March. And then after we get past the 16th, we're going to kick into original instruction, new instruction moving forward, and do our very best to get our kids back to a normal mode as much as possible and opened up as quickly as possible with what we're allowed to do. So I kind of wanted to address the intercession piece real quick. I wanted to go to Mr. Nunes next. He's going to talk to us about some guidance topics that students will be interested in. So Mr. Nunes, it's all yours.
Thank you. So we'll talk a little bit about grouping. That seems to be the question of the day. I feel like I'm Mr. Popular this week because I've gotten overwhelmed with emails and calls. So big question of the day is grouping. How are we grouped? If you recall, we've sent a lot of parent squares out, a lot of questionnaires about what group you wanted your student in, whether it's going to be distance learning or back on campus 2 or 3 days a week. So with that being said, you can see your group. If Mr. Braga will share that screen. You can go online. Many kids have gone online, and you can tell what group you're in on your demographic page. So you sign in. We got Mr. Freddie Falcon here. On the very bottom, it has schedule group. That is what you have selected, or that's what we have put in for you. we've had some parents and some students change. There was some, maybe a couple got injured wrong, but you need to make sure you're checking that group and you're confirming with your parents and your children that that's the right group. If it's not what you selected, you do need to email me or call the guidance office, and then we can get that squared away. We have some time, but we are in the process of updating the schedules. So our goal from the guidance perspective is we are not going to change any of your schedules to the best ability we can. And I think we'll do a really good job at that. We have to keep the classrooms under 15 or less. So we need those groups to be entered correctly, and we'll balance every class. So an example I could give you, if you're in a math class and there's a 17A group in there and there's only 10 group B in there, some of those group A kids are going to have to change to a group B. That'll be done before you come back on campus, and a lot of students won't even know it. Okay. So the main thing you need to do right now is to make sure you're coming back to campus, or if you're staying on distance learning. Okay. It's not to make sure what group you're in. Okay. Group A, group B really doesn't matter right now. We just need to know if you're coming back on campus or if you're staying distance learning. Okay. So that's what your goal is for this week, is to look at your groups, make sure it's confirmed. If not, you're going to email me or call the guidance office sometime this week and arrange that. Okay, and that's it for now. Hopefully, like I said, we're going to have the schedules ready to go next week out to teachers, and we're going to mail those out to you guys, hopefully 3 or 4 days before school starts, and we'll also send them out on Parent Square. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nunes. Okay, next on our list of things to talk about, we're going to be discussing the district's plans for COVID safety on campus. And I'm going to go through again some of the slides from the board meeting last night and share those with you. And I'll just run through a number of slides that address a few different areas of COVID protocol for us. So, Mr. Braga, if you could bring up there it is. All right. So COVID prevention measures for classrooms. As you can see, the average classroom capacity is 15. How we came up with 15 is we take the square footage of the classroom and we distance the desks a minimum of 6 feet apart. Smaller classrooms will have to have less than 15, but we're going to maintain the 6-foot distance between desks and students, as well as the distance from the teachers. So that's one of our primary functions, is to make sure our classrooms are set up appropriately. So as you can see on the slide there, 6 feet apart to minimize contact, partitions where possible, markings on the floor to be used for directional travel. We'll actually have some directional travel signs up around campus to keep our students, let's say if it's kind of the typical flow of traffic, stay to the right through say the 100 and 200 wing, have your students stay to the right of that particular area. It'll create less cross traffic as students are going from A to B. So we'll have some signage up, our liaisons will be out, administrators will be out, teachers will be supporting this as well to make sure that folks are following this. Now, one thing that's important to know, I'm just going to take a sidestep for a second. When we have our group A students on campus, the way things broke down, we're at about 62% wanting in person and 38% wanting to be distance learning only. So what that will result is at about 600 students total on Atwater High School campus that is made to accommodate 2,000 kids. So any given day we'll have about 600 students on campus, which will make things far less dense and far less populated or crowded than it would be if all of our students were back. So with this and with some of these other measures in place, we're confident we'll be able to support the COVID protocols and make sure we keep the proper distance for our kids. So each of the desks will be sanitized. We're buying, we've got a supply chain of cleaning materials and disinfectants and sanitizer. Our district has done an amazing job of acquiring all of these things to be able to support the COVID protocols. So we're very proud of the job that they've done. We're working logistics every single day on getting the materials and what we need here. So I'm confident we'll have the wipes and the sanitizers and the stations and the hands-free stations all around campus. A lot of there's been special funding allocated from the federal government to support this effort. So we are making every effort to make things as safe as possible here for the student. Teachers will be encouraged to use contactless procedures. Group projects must enforce social distancing and consider outdoor spaces for instructional purposes. Remove extra desks from classrooms, We're moving our desks around again to minimize the surface contact for students, and eating and drinking in classroom will be discouraged. For PE classes, I'll just go through, take a second and read through this if you like, but I'll go through and just read. Normally you don't read slides, but in this case I'm going to do it just to make sure we cover everything. Students will not dress out in PE. Locker rooms won't be available. So outdoor locations prioritized for class meeting and roll call, and physical distancing will be enforced. Use of weight rooms and facilities will follow Department of Health guidelines. So as things are opened up more for utilization of weight rooms and indoor facilities, we will follow the strict guidelines of the county in that regard. Again, prioritize outdoor spaces for activities, prioritize instruction units that minimize indoor facilities and shared equipment, prioritize instructional units that foster social distancing. Team sports will emphasize individual skills and development over team play. Avoid team sports where activities are not conducive to physical distancing. Each campus will establish indoor facilities where social distancing can be maintained during inclement weather and poor air quality, basically utilizing our gyms and our large activity rooms that we have. Teachers will develop systems for equipment handling to maintain the physical distancing. Any shared equipment shall be sanitized between student use. Students should be encouraged to wear masks students be required to wear masks during low intensity activities, including walking and stretching. Masks are not required during medium or high intensity, including weightlifting, running, calisthenics, or individual drills, but again, spacing will be required. Social distancing should be maintained to the greatest extent possible during PE classes. Again, the number of students in a PE class will be far less with the AB scheduling. Okay, moving on, our CTE shops and science classes. This presented kind of a challenge from a COVID protocol standpoint, but we want to talk about what we're planning for our procedures here. Students, again, 6 foot distance for students. Students shall be assigned their own individual workstations, tools, and equipment as much as possible. Group projects only permitted if social distancing can be maintained. Again, plexiglass and or markings on the floor for distancing. Teachers will be spaced. Students should be issued individual tools and equipment to avoid the sharing of tools. Teachers will develop systems for assigning and collecting tools to ensure cleanliness and social distancing. Shared tools, equipment, and supplies will be sanitized at the end of each period. Increased ventilation for shops, opening doors, weather permitting, and considering outdoor space for all projects we possibly can, and removed unused desks or unused surface area items from the rooms. Band. Okay, instruments that do not expel droplets, including string instruments and percussion instruments, will be permitted. Bands may march and practice formations if physical distancing can be maintained. When activities are held indoors, physical distancing must be maintained at all times possible. Prioritize the use of outdoor spaces for band activities, weather permitting, of course. Student classroom seating will follow the 6 foot distance rule. Instruments with the potential to expel droplets are not permitted at this time. So all of your wind instruments will not be utilized at this time. And students absolutely should not and will not be allowed to share instruments. You shouldn't do that anyway. Kind of gross. Okay. COVID prevention measures, other COVID prevention measures. Sites will minimize congregated movement as much as possible. Sites will implement one-way, hallway, and use areas. I kind of alluded to that already. Staff will remind and encourage students to maintain physical distance from other students. Signage will be posted all around campus, reminding students. Schools will utilize digital marquees, promote facial masks, physical distancing, hand washing, and student clubs will meet after school, provided social distancing is taking place, or excuse me, student clubs may meet after school, providing attendance is taken for contact tracing purposes. There's been a couple questions. I'm not sure if they popped up here. I've been too busy talking to really look over there. I know some of our admin are addressing questions. But for wearing a face mask to school, it's pretty much a non-negotiable. If it's an issue for a student or for families, we would just ask if they stay on distance learning until we're no longer required to wear the masks at school. It's just not something we can accommodate and maintain the safety protocols that we have to have here at Atwater High School. COVID prevention measures for lunch and nutrition break. Probably wondering how this is going to work. Again, think about the density of the school, having 600 kids here on a campus that accommodates 2,000. So already we have fewer students on campus. Cafeteria seating will be arranged to promote a minimum distance for students, or maximum distance for students. Encourage students to maintain physical distancing. Our liaisons, admin, and other folks are going to be busy reminding students to make sure they maintain their physical distancing while they're eating and taking their breaks. Of course, they may remove their mask while they're eating or drinking, and if they're, say, outside that 6-foot distance from folks. But we just want to make sure that we're being cautious at every step. Liaisons will remind and encourage students to maintain physical distance. Cafeteria capacity will be limited, so we will have to have other areas on campus that we're planning for students to be able to eat, especially in inclement weather. We're looking at gyms and otherwise other areas on campus to do that. Serving food using satellite food service carts. The district has bought multiple food service carts to spread out the distribution of food all over campus, so that with these 600 kids, they will have more access to food. Lines really shouldn't be an issue, and we'll be able to spread them out so that we don't have long lines of students getting lunch at any particular time. And encourage students to eat outdoors when the weather is nice. Okay, the COVID prevention measures. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Wine. Mr. Wine, do you have a screen that you're going to share, or would you like this particular screen up, or what would you prefer?
That would be fine. I don't have a screen to share. I'm just gonna just a couple minutes of information. I sent a lot of this. I think I sent all of this out on Parent Square this afternoon, so people can check their emails, parents and students. So if you're okay with that, I'm just fine like this. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, family. Welcome. What's happening in athletics? Again, like I say, I basically sent, it's kind of a little script here. I'm going over with my notes. I sent this out on Parent Square. You can always contact us in the student body office, my email, if you need more information. So what's going on right now? October is kind of like June for us as far as preparing for sports. November will be kind of like July as far as we're building up to starting. If everything goes right, and I think we're on the right track so far as everything is going okay, we're starting for December 7th, December 14th, regular practices. A lot of us are going to be coming back to school here in the classroom on campus. Sports have been going for a couple of weeks, and a lot of you are involved. If you are on distance learning, you can still participate in athletics. We will work that out. So we're staying very strict on our COVID-19 policies with masks and sanitizing and distancing, and coaches are working hard on that. Again, you're supposed to wear a face mask when you're on campus. Now, if you're running sprints or running laps or things like that, or swimming in the pool, obviously you can take your mask off. Like Mr. Theodosio said earlier, you can have your mask on for low intensity activities. Coaches are screening and enforcing distancing throughout the workouts. Remember, our goal, all students participating as many activities as they can. I know it's hard to do a lot of activities. It's even more difficult now, but we want to make it happen. So let's make sure we can do that. So it's all about masks and distancing and washing the hands, all the things we know to do. So how do you get involved if you have not been involved yet? I know it was tough, especially for our 9th graders, because we didn't get a chance to see you before school started. So athletics may be your first contact with school. So we hope it's a positive one. So you need an athletic participation form that has a sports physical attached to it. So on the website, Atwater High website, go to athletics menu, and you can find that athletic participation form. Get your sports physical if you have not done that yet. Castle Urgent Care has done a great job for us getting students in. They do want you to call first because they do have certain hours. You can go to your own doctor as well. Just be sure you use the athletic participation form. And reminder, we cannot use nurse practitioner, or chiropractor physicals. So be sure it's a regular medical doctor. Bring that to the SBO, or you can scan that and email that to us. If you can't come in, you can also drop it at the welcome table. And then we combine that with your athleticClearance.com account. So a lot of electronic signatures and information is on your athletic clearance account. We combine that with your athletic participation form and get you cleared, and then you can participate. Let's see here. Again, that athletic participation form and instructions for the athleticClearance.com account is on the school website. So scan that, email that, turn that in to Ms. Calderon or myself. Our emails are on the website. And then we'll get you cleared for athletics. If you have questions, the quickest way to get information is to contact the head coach of your sport. All coaches' email addresses are on that website. Contact the coach. They'll get you squared away on times and dates. If you need more information, contact the student body office, myself, Ms. Calderon, and we'll get you squared away there. Okay, again, you cannot participate until you're completely cleared. Safety with COVID is obviously important, and safety with your health. A doctor has to make sure that you're okay as well. So that's part of the deal. And obviously, if you have COVID symptoms, do not show up for workouts. If you were, coaches are screening with those questions. Do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Have you traveled outside the country, et cetera? If you would have answered yes to those questions, then don't show up for workouts. So keep that in mind as well. So contact the coach. And what can we do right now? Well, we are working. I went to Livingston and Merced high schools yesterday. We're working on weight room plans and gymnasium plans. So, again, those rooms are usually a little bit bigger, but we still need to keep people distance. We have to clean equipment between, uses. So we're working on that. What can you do right now? Your grades still determine eligibility. So if you want to have fun, you want to participate, which we want you to do, you want to be involved in all those fun activities in athletics, you got to keep those grades up. I know it's been frustrating at times with online learning, but, work your way through it. Work hard when we get back on November 2nd, whether it's distance learning, in class, A, B, do what you've got to do. And that way you can have the fun, which we all want to have outside the classroom as well. So if you need any help, if you have any questions, contact your head coach. Contact the student body office, and we're here for you, and we'll get you going on activities and athletics. All right. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Wine. We'll go to Mr. Braga. Let's talk about activities.
Thank you, Mr. Theodosio. I'm excited to have kids back. I'm tired of looking at Mr. Nunes all the time. It's going to be different, obviously. We're not going to have pep rallies that are going to pack the gym or dances with kids dancing like they dance. Student sections, we're going to kind of think outside the box, kind of going around Halloween, dress up week for Halloween, pumpkin carving contests. All of it's through social media. So parents, you could follow us on our social media accounts, and I know a lot of the kids do, to kind of get them involved that way. We want to do something the first couple days back with our staff to welcome back the kids. November, Thanksgiving time, canned food drives, community service during those months or that month. Then Friday, for December, we're going to do a modified Make-A-Wish that we always traditionally do in December. Those are just big things that are coming when the kids are back. I saw a question on the Facebook comment section about getting the freshmen acclimated to the campus. We plan on doing a fun video, kind of giving a tour of the campus, so the class of 2024 feels comfortable as possible when they get onto campus. So yes, that's definite. Clubs are kind of kicking up into gear. FCA, Art, FFA, I know have had meetings. The big ones are meeting already. A lot of our clubs wanted to wait until kids were on campus. So when we have some of our kids on campus, we will get those kids into those other groups. But if you see anything, we're kind of like everybody else. We're kind of picking and choosing what we see other schools doing. Please feel free to email me if you see something cool that another school is doing. We'll definitely give it a try. But that's all for me, Mr. Theodosi.
Well, I know there are going to be a lot more questions. We will need to, as we make this transition, we have a couple weeks till this happens. We will need to communicate again as more information comes to the forefront, as there are kind of questions that we're getting a lot of inquiries about. We're going to do this again this next week, just like we did coming into the beginning of this semester, where we had multiple Facebook Live events to help communicate what's going on. I anticipate we will do this next week. We're going to do a Spanish version next week as well to communicate with our Spanish-speaking families. Like I said, if we didn't get to some of your questions there, we're going to kind of go through our questions and comments, and we'll work to address those next time. I want to thank our administrators and our activities directors and athletic director for joining us this evening, and I want to thank everybody that is participating and asking questions and engaged with us this evening. This is a big change again for us. We've been through a lot of changes since March. Like I said, or like Mr. Braga said very well, we are excited, very excited to get kids back on campus with us. We can't wait. We want to do it safely. We want to get back to that sense of normality for us as quickly as possible, and while still doing it safely. So we're excited about these changes that are taking place. The learning curve is steep for all of us, for our teachers, learning the new kind of broadcast method of instruction. That we want to thank you for your patience through all of this, and your support through all of this too. Many of you have been very supportive, and we know it's a challenge for our students. We know it's a challenge for our families. And it's been a challenge for everybody. But again, we're all in this together, and we will work together to do the very best job we can, with our students being our number one priority in all of this and all of the decisions that we make. So again, communication's key. We're going to work really hard to communicate with you. We would like to have you communicate with us when you have questions. And we'll look forward to talking with everybody again very soon. And until then, stay safe, and thank you very much for participating this evening.